Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today we're going to be talking about the TurboGrafx 16 or PC Engine, and don't worry, the Turbo Duo is not going to fall. I know you're looking at it at the edge and it's driving your anxiety crazy, but trust me, it's fine. It's barely a thing. Anyway, but yes, today we're going to be talking about it, and specifically how to get better video quality out of it. Now, I've actually done videos like this in the past on actually this exact console, but it was always on like individual devices, and I kind of thought it would be nice to sit down and 2021 kind of truncate all that information into one specific video so you can decide if you want to upgrade the console, provided you have one, what method might be best for you. So let's talk a little bit about what even went on with the history of this console. So when NEC originally made the PC Engine, this white box, ignore the black part attached to it for the moment, this white box, when they originally released this in Japan, they only included RF out, which was foolish. By that point in time, you know, composite was very standard. So it was very, I mean, like the NES had composite, you know, like 3 years earlier. You would think, because they completely redesigned it, once again, ignore this back piece. When they redesigned it, you would think, oh, okay, so they put composite on it. No, they went ahead with RF again. Ugh. And the European release, as limited as was, didn't have anything other than RF either. So why? Now, NEC obviously realized this was an issue, and they ended up upgrading it. So they themselves, I don't have it, but they released something called the Turbo Booster, which I'll show you here, an image of it. Basically, within the US, if you had that, you could attach it to the back of the console, and you would at least get composite video out of it, and you would still have your RF option. You know, kind of a late, you know, idea that really was a band-aid. It really should have been on their stock from the beginning, but unfortunately that's just not how they did it. In Japan, they actually did address this because of how much more popular the console was, and they gave them a few different options. One was if you had the CD interface unit, like this one here, on the side, it would actually have a native composite jack on the side, so it would be better than RF. It's still composite, which is terrible, but it was an improvement. And then they did other versions of the PC Engine, like the Core Graphics here, which actually had on the side a port that allowed it to no longer be limited to RF, but instead with a specific type of cable, you could get composite out of it. And the same with the Core Graphics 2, again, having that exact same port, allowing for at least, once again, composite. Unfortunately, because the TurboGrafx 16 was not successful here, nor in Europe, where it barely existed at all, no such option other than that adapter ever really existed. There was no redesign. We did eventually get the Turbo Duo and the PC Duo. I believe the Turbo Duo actually does have native composite out on it, but like finding one of those is really not common. This happens to be the Japanese version, the PC Duo. So, what could you do if you want to take advantage of better video quality now in 2021? Well, fortunately, there's a whole bunch of different options. And I've done videos, like I said, on a bunch of them, so we're just going to kind of go through them. Before we show you the options that I've got, I do want to get these out of the way. You're looking at the couple of Hyperkin options, one's by both Hyperkin and Level Hike. I'm just going to be straight with you, don't get these. I mean, Hyperkin made their own version of the Turbo Booster. It has composite out. You really don't need to go that route. There are far superior options. And I know that people are going to point out like things like the Level Height cable or Hyperkin's own HDMI cable. Please don't buy these. These are just generic composite to HDMI converters. And I mean composite. Like, they don't have the hardware in them to get an RGB signal out of the console. They're just using the easiest method, which is to take composite, throw it into a very generic scaler, giving you artificial 720p and just kind of calling it a day. They're not well made. Do not support this type of thing. I realize that some people like them for the price and the convenience or whatever, but they are garbage, and you should know that going into it. So if you're happy with it, you have one of those, whatever, that's on you. But please do not be like, oh, you should use this, because they're bad. They're just really, really bad. This device that is attached to the back of the PC Engine is something called the AV Engine block. This is actually the Stone Age Gamer edition of it. And in this case, what happened is a guy designed a box that you could attach to the back, much like the original AV booster. But in this case, you gave you more options. You know, you had composite output. You also had S-video output, which is actually unique to this device, at least among all the things I have. And then it also had RGB output, which it actually taps into through a Sega Genesis Model 2 cable, either SCART or, in this case, HD Retrovision component cables. Now, I'm just going to say it up front. That's the one you want. You want to use the RGB output. And if you are going to go that route, keep in mind that that is such a clean, clear, beautiful signal, but the output is 240p. So if you're using, say, component cables, if you're the guy with a CRT that has component input, or a PCM, or I'm sorry, PVM that has you know, component input, you're going to be fine. Plug and play. But if you're like me and you're using a modern television, your modern television is not going to understand 240p through a component input. So at that point, you're going to need something like this. This is the RetroTink 5X. I did a video on this not too long ago. But in other words, this will just take that 240p signal and it'll upscale it to a modern resolution so you're able to use it. It also does some additional benefits. But again, you can check out the video on that. But in short, if you're the guy with a TurboGrafx 16 or a PC Engine and you just want a plug-and-play solution, this is pretty much it, which is great. But there are other options, so let's talk about some of them. Over here, we have the SD System 3, which I did a video on. This is kind of like an EverDrive, but specifically for the PC Engine. It allows it to play not only PC Engine original carts, but it actually supports the ISOs of the CD-based games, which is unique to this device. It also has RGB out on it again. So once again, this supports the Sega Genesis Model 2 cables. Definitely supports the HD Retrovision ones as well as the SCART ones. I'm pretty sure it would support the composite cables. However, there were no S-video cables, so those would be your three options. This would be kind of a more expensive route, honestly, if that's what you wanted to do. I wouldn't get this just for the RGB capabilities. You would also want to then take advantage of the flash card capabilities of the device. But that is an option as well. Post-production Adam here with a small update. If you look at the screen, this was just recently announced. This is an updated version of the SD system. This is the Pro version. This one actually has a couple of different, things under the hood, and maybe we'll review it at some point, but I just wanted to point this out because it also actually includes native HDMI out, supporting both 480p as well as 720p resolutions. It looks like they also kept the RGB port, so you would still have those options as well. But yeah, I would guess if you're into this option, this would probably be the superior version, so keep that in mind. Technically, there's the interface unit, but this would only apply if you have the Japanese version of the console, and in that case, you would probably also want to try and get the CD system too. However, these are notorious for not working very well, but technically it's an option, but not exactly an affordable one, nor is it even the best, because again, you're limited to composite. There's a couple of other ones. We've got this thing. This was a device made by a guy in Canada. I believe his name was Jody. I met up with him once, and I bought this from him. He had made it out of this device was actually originally for the PC Engine, and what it allowed it to do, I think, was just like some sort of battery backup for game saves or whatever. But he used it as a shell to basically integrate his own set of composite and component output. Once again, no S-video support, but same basic idea. Plug it into the back of a TurboGrafx 16 or a PC Engine, and then you have composite or component output. But again, in all cases, you're gonna be limited to 240p, so you would need a RetroTink on a modern television. Another option includes this, which might look stock, but it's not. My buddy Chris actually modified this, taking out the RF port entirely and replacing it with, once again, a Sega Genesis Model 2 cable. So this actually supports native RGB out. That's actually its only output, unless you want to get into using the back, which there's really no reason to. But this one is actually pretty neat because not only does it support the SCART and the HD Retrovision cables, I believe it supports composite, but this is one of the unique situations where you can actually use the CD system, I think. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a TurboGrafx 16 CD, but as I recall him saying, if this is connected to the CD unit in the back, you should still be able to get your video out of this. So it's one of the few ways to actually get RGB out of an actual TurboGrafx 16 CD. Whereas the AV Engine block completely blocks that same port. So boom, no CD unit. The same with the Core Graphics, with the Terra Onion SD System 3, blocks it. However, this one, of course, would allow you to play ISOs of it, but if you wanted to use the original hardware, you could not. And the same would go with this particular one. The other option you would have is something like this. Again, the PC Duo in this case this one has been RGB modded. This does not have RGB capabilities natively. It looks stock, but my buddy, once again, Chris, did a lot of work on the inside. So it actually natively supports composite, but now it supports RGB SCART as well as HD Retrovision component cables. So you see what I'm saying? You have options if you're at all interested. It depends on if you're going the modding route or if you just want the plug and play route. Each one comes with their, their pluses and their minuses. Comes down to certain benefits that others do not have, as well as, ease of use and all that sort of stuff. Personally, if it was up to me, and if price wasn't an issue or whatever, then yeah, probably the native modification would be better, because then you future-proof your, for the ability of having a legit console. But everybody's tastes are different, so I just wanted to give you guys some options there. Now, let's take a look at what it actually looks like. Now, to keep this kind of as fair as possible, I'm really just going to stick to one device. In this case, we're going to use the AV engine block. I'm going to capture composite, S-Video, and RGB. Now, the reason we're doing it out of here is uniquely, this is the only one that supports S-Video. I was actually originally not even going to bother with it, but there's going to be a couple people out there that really want to know what the S-Video looks like, so we're going to do that. So first up, we'll just have some composite here. The thing is, it's composite. It's never going to look great. And for the record, it's also running through the RetroTink 5X, because I really don't have a choice on that. It's just a matter of needing to do that in order for it to be capturable. But yeah, that's composite. It's muddy. It's dirty. It's better than RF, but that's really its only saving grace. It's just there for compatibility, but I would absolutely never recommend using composite. But yes, technically you have that option. So let's upgrade a bit to S-Video. Now, again, the S-Video's big difference over, composite is it's essentially the same signal. It's just that it separates the colors from the contrast, so it gives you a sharper image. This would be really only useful to the guys out there who are absolutely insistent upon sticking with a CRT, but don't have a CRT with component, but do have a CRT with S-Video. That crack, that niche right there, this is pretty much for you guys. So yeah, that would be my recommendation if you're that guy. AV engine block, plug and play, probably for you. But now let's take a look at RGB capabilities. Now, I'm really only capturing this from the AV engine block, but it should look essentially identical on all the platforms, or all the versions of it. In this case, we'll be using the HD Retrovision cables. You could use SCART. It'll essentially look the same. The reason we're going with the HD Retrovision cables is simply that they're easier to capture, and because, frankly, more people in North America are likely to have those than a whole bunch of SCART infrastructure, but technically either way would work. But as you can see, the jump is much clearer. It's, very, very clean. And just to remind you of how clean it is, let's switch back to composite for a minute. And, there you go. That pretty much tells you everything you need to know. So, kind of in conclusion here, I really, I just wanted to go through these options here just to let you guys know, if you're into the TurboGrafx 16 or you're into the PC Engine, what your options are for upgrading depending on your preferences. If you want to go the mod route, depending on which console you have, that's available to you. Or if you want to go with the plug and play route, that's available to you as well. If you want to plug and play, Stone Age Gamer, I think, still sells these. They definitely still sell the SD System 3. You can get them over there. I'll put a link in the description. If you want to go with the modification route, my buddy Chris can help hook you up with that. He did my TurboGrafx 16 mod. He repaired and upgraded this. He also actually repaired this interface unit, actually. You can do that. I really doubt you could even get this Canadian one anymore, so I'm not really going to bother with it. But if you want things like the RetroTink, I'll put a link into that. And if you want things like the HD Retrovision cables, I believe Castlemania Games sells those. So all the links for that kind of stuff will be in the description. But there you go, guys. There's your little 2021 guide on how to potentially get the best out of it depending on your needs. So thank you very much for watching. If you could please like, comment, and subscribe, I appreciate that. Check out the social media stuff in the description. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the Discord, which is now a verified Discord for some reason, so appreciate that as well. Thank you very much. Hit up the Patreon, hit the join button, all that's always appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.